The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. As Jesus was passing through a field of grain on the Sabbath, his disciples began to make a path while picking the heads of the grain. At this, the Pharisees said to him, "Look, why are they doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath?" He said to them, "Have you never read what David did when he was in need, and he and his companions were hungry? How he went into the house of God when Abiathar was the high priest and ate the bread of offering that only the priest could lawfully eat, and shared it with his companions? Then he said to them, 'The Sabbath was made for men, not men for the Sabbath. That is why the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath.'" The Gospel of the Lord. Today, the Church invites us to celebrate the life of Saint Agnes, but there was not much details about her that we could find after 1300 years since her martyrdom in Rome. The tradition of the Church tells us that Saint Agnes was a young teenager, probably about 12 or 13 years old, living in the second half of the 3rd century, when being a Christian was still a grave crime. That was why among the many men who wanted to marry the young Agnes, one specifically was bitter of being rejected by her and reported her of being a Christian to the Roman authorities, and so she was condemned and executed. Now, the example of the young martyrdom of Saint Agnes, similar to those of like Saint Agatha or Saint Maria Goretti, reminds us about one important thing: that holiness does not depend on age, experience, or human effort, but a free gift from God to all of us. And this lesson is also related to the message from the Gospel today, when Jesus reminded the Pharisees about the true spirit of the law. All of God's laws were not to be seen as means for us to oppress one another, or to motivate our own ego, or to show off our power and our authority. But God's law were to invite us to advance our holiness and advance our love for one another. Many of us look at the obligations to attend Mass on Sundays and the days of obligations as burdens, because we come to Mass only to fulfill the laws, to not feel guilty. We only come physically, in person, but we forget the spiritual value of the gathering of the community of faith in prayer, and the great benefits of the sacrament of being in the true presence of God. This speaks to the other kinds of obligations that we have to keep as well. If we look at those laws of God and of the Church as obligations, we will only see them as burdens. But if we can see them as means to gain holiness and to advance in love, we can find true values in them. So, brothers and sisters, through the example of Saint Agnes, who gained true vision of holiness at a very young age through her martyrdom, may we also follow her path to advance in our own holiness and love through our way of practicing God's laws, not as burdens, but as useful guidance for us. May God, who has begun the good work in us, also bring it to fruitful completion. Amen.